Hi, how are you? In the Philippine Tagalog language, I'm Jessica Jacosalamrola, your new host. I have an exciting new show called Locals in Las Vegas and Beyond. And it's a lifestyle show that I created with a lot of great people in Nevada. And I made a big change coming from Chicago, Illinois to live here. This is 20 minutes north of the Strip. Beautiful weather, big change again from the Midwest. And being here in the West Coast, it's just great because I want to really show people what life is beyond the Strip. It's not just casinos, it's not just gambling, just a safe family environment. We also will be covering on my show, hopefully, that you're going to see some really inspirational people, regular people, youthful senior citizens. There's 200 to 250,000 Pinoy Americans and mixed race cultures living in households that hopefully will tune in. Want to cover authors and artists, creative locals here that are just so talented as well. Also, non-for-profits, organizations that really help to improve the community. Thank you so much and enjoy my show.
Is what the natives saw. Right after that, the chief, the Raja, and his name is Raja Humabon, came to Ferdinand Magellan and said, if I start worshiping your God, then I will be like you. Upon hearing this, Ferdinand Magellan changed his course and felt that if I can convert to Christianity an entire island of all these native men and bring them to Jesus Christ, it is the biggest achievement of his travel and his journey, because he can report to the king in Spain and he can report to the Pope in Rome that he was able to bring an entire nation for Jesus Christ. So he stayed. And at that time, when the king, the queen, and their subjects, and all those people, the population, they started baptizing them. And as they were being baptized, that's when everybody's name was changed to Spanish. That's why our names are similar to the ones in Mexico and South America. All our names are in Spanish because of this particular moment. Any more questions? Go ahead.
I would love to know more about this piece over here.
Which one?
Right over here.
This is called the Hagabi, which is actually carved out of an entire bark of a tree. This is where the chief or the head of the tribe sits and shares his knowledge. It's in Western terms, this is like a throne. That is called Hagabi. And it's very rare because they are not created every day. They're only created for the chief for the past 3,000 years. And Sotheby's actually a few years ago auctioned one off in New York, and it went as much as $500,000. Wow. Yeah. Any more questions before I go?
David, would it be safe to say the Philippines was under the Spanish colonization for over 300 years?
Yes, actually it's 333 years we were under. Yes, we are under Spanish rule. And, you know, and the thing there is, one of the things is that there is a disadvantage of colonization and there's an advantage. The disadvantage is, of course, you're not free because somebody is governing you and they're foreign power. But one of the advantage is this, is not only did the Spanish made the whole Philippines of different 7,644 islands a united country, the Spanish never sold our Filipino natives to slavery. They were not shipped to Europe, they were not shipped to the Americas, and be sold in auction like the English did. From India to Africa, they brought these people and sold the natives to auction for slavery. That is the only difference between the two. But otherwise, I think, if without the Spanish, I think it will never be the Philippines, because the Philippines will be a different country in each and every island. And the thing is, I would say that if the Spanish never came, most of the Philippines today will be all Muslim. Because the southern part of the Philippines is Muslim. And because before the Spanish colonization, the Muslim from Indonesia and the Muslim from Borneo, they were already coming up and, talking about Muhammad. Any more questions? This is fantastic.
We were also colonized by the British, right?
The British came in the 1700s. That was the time they were traveling all the way to Hong Kong. But you have to remember, the Philippines at that time was the first westernized country in all of Asia. So every foreign ship or every foreign traveler that travels from Europe or from the Americas through the ocean always dock in the Philippines. It is always their stopover. Because as early as 1500, the Philippines, the Spanish created a walled city. And they used to call it, which we still call it now, Intramuros, okay? This walled city was built in the 1500s, and it is so westernized that prior to World War II, an American GI, who was a photojournalist for Life magazine, took a panoramic city of that city, and it looked like you're in the middle of Madrid and Barcelona in Asia. So it was the first westernized country in all of Asia. That's why en route to Hong Kong, the British actually tried to invade Manila. And they stayed there for almost 3.5 years. So if you notice, we have a whole different mix of culture back in the Philippines. When I was in high school, my classmates are blonde hair and green eyes, and they're Filipinos.
And we have Chinese.
And we have Chinese, and because it's the whole Spanish, Chinese, Southeast Asian mix, So when you go to the Philippines, it's like, well, of course, the Americans came in 1900, and took over. As a matter of fact, this is very important for a lot of people to know, that the Philippines used to be a commonwealth of the United States. We were like Hawaii. We were like Puerto Rico. My grandmother, when he was a child, would travel to the US. She didn't need a visa. She was considered an American because we were actually part of the United States then. It was only after World War II in 1946 that the Philippines actually requested the Americans and of course the American government and Congress if they would give them independence. And the Americans took about 3 years to decide whether they're going to do it. But actually they did, with one condition. They are putting the biggest military bases outside the continental USA in the Philippines, both Air Force and Naval. And it's still there today. That was the condition. So in 1946, the Philippines was given independence from the United States. Any more questions? Isn't it interesting? Because these things you don't really hear, or you don't really hear, and it's sad because, as early, next time I'm going to play next time you come when we're open, there is a big, huge video that will tell you how old the Philippines actually, as a country, as a people, how old we are. We are way 5,000 years old. Same time as the Egyptians. That's how old the people in the Philippines then. So that will be a whole different segment, or I'm going to be talking here all day. Yeah. So any more questions?
I thought we kicked out the U.S. Clark.
No, a lot of people think that the Clark Air Force Base in the Philippines was Actually, they voluntarily left because of the mountain volcano that erupted right next to them, which is called Mount Pinatubo. It was right next to Clark Air Force Base. And so when the mountain, after it started blowing up after 600 years, the Air Force had to abandon the whole military base. But then after, they cleaned it up again. So they're back. There you go. Yes?
Oftentimes we always hear that colonization comes with Christianity or Catholicism, but that's not always true. You know, in Africa, you know that Christianity came well before slavery and all that.
Yes.
Did not Christianity come from the Apostle Paul going in those Asian communities?
Yes.
So you all had the relationship of Christ well before the Spanish came through, correct?
Yeah, but the Spanish actually made it a religion. It became mandatory. You know, because they were under colonization, so they have to follow the rules. They have to follow the leaders. You know, they were not given the freedom. You know, it was a mandatory thing.
What I'm saying is we often accept Christ when it's a freedom to have a choice, rather than it become mandated to you going to worship.
Yeah. Well, you have to remember that is actually the main purpose of the Spanish. That's why they were able to convince the Mexicans.
Yeah.
They were able to convince the South Americans, the people in Argentina, the whole of South America. It's because they put religion first as their agenda. But actually, that wasn't their agenda. It was just their stepping stone to take over. You know? And so, very interesting, you know, about history, because you don't hear this in our schools, you know, even here, you know, nobody talks about, you know, when you talk about the Philippines, it's supposed to be third world, it's this, it's that, whatever. But you have to remember that before World War II, the Philippines was one of the biggest miners of gold. We have so much gold deposit to this day that they're still trying to discover in which part of the country. And actually, as early as 4 months ago, they were able to discover an entire resource of natural gas off the island of Palawan. So there's so many of natural resources that are still being, you know, but then of course the Spanish took over, they got the gold, you know, and the Americans came, and you know, that's why if you notice, when you have to remember, did you ever hear us growing up, they call Manila envelopes?
Yes.
Right? Because those envelopes are actually produced in the Philippines. And then you hear about the Manila hemp.
Yes.
Those ropes are made of abaca that all the ships and all the big boats carry, because that is so strong it could actually hold a boat, you know, from getting away from the dock. So it's called Manila hemp. And one of our famous things also, natural thing that we export, is called the Manila clams. So, I mean, it's so, you hear it, but you never realize that it's all actually from the Philippines. And it was the Americans who actually propagated all this when they took over at the turn of the century. So that's why it came to the US. You know, every envelope that was used in American Congress and government was Manila envelopes to this day. So it's just amazing. So any more questions?
Can we call it Ilocano envelopes?
I think you better tell them what Ilocano is. Yeah, you have to explain what Ilocano is. Yeah, so, yeah, and so we're hoping, because with the graciousness and the kindness of our Manang Rosita, who actually founded, and the chairman of Filipino Town, which was awarded to her in April as the chairman of Filipino Town. And actually here at the Boulevard Mall is where we unveiled last October 9, you know, with the Clark County Commissioner Tick Sigerblom. And Filipino Town is actually on Maryland Parkway from Flamingo and Desert Inn. So everything within Flamingo and Desert Inn along Maryland Parkway is all Filipino town. And the biggest entity there is, the biggest, structure we have in Filipino town is, of course, the Boulevard Mall, which was built in 1968. It's the first mall in all of Vegas. And so the Boulevard Mall, with their gracious kindness, actually offered this space and donated it to the Filipino American Museum.
Hello, how are you? Kamusta ka? In Philippine Tagalog, it's Jessica Jacosa here at the Boulevard Mall, right here next to my office, sort of, in the mall, but it's actually a very beautiful reconstructed Filipino American museum and in Vegas. And in ancient times, the inhabitants of the Philippines were a diverse people and arrived in the waves of immigration from other places. There were Chinese traders. There's a lot of influence in my family, Jacosalam side of the Spanish Moors. This is like home, I guess, to me, or all these artifacts. There's religious, the priests, the convent, the nuns, and then most importantly, look at how beautifully and intricately done these artifacts were. I mean, these are one of a kind. I can honestly say, and thank you to my videographer, Will Dizon. He's capturing this, what beautiful artifacts, and they were recovered and I'm sure redone, and I'm not probably using the right art history term, but I did take that in college. So there's a lot of influence from Spain, so from Philip II, Philippe in Spanish, who was king of Spain during the Spanish colonization. I definitely was for that because, again, my family has Spanish and Chinese. And then let's go left more so we don't run into it. Ferdinand Magellan was also, I believe, a conquistador, and he conquered the Philippines, and he made a big impact with his influence. So again, if you are of that descent like I am, I really relate to this. I think this is candelabra. Look at all the intricate design there. And I know I'm not giving the best historian or art historian description since I don't work here, but Ron, I will introduce you to, I think, David, Jocelyn, and Randy Betts. But since we have this beautiful classical music, I just want to introduce myself again. And this is going to be hopefully in my Locals in Las Vegas segment for Philam TV, maybe Global Filipino Network and YouTube, Vimeo, all the platforms, Roku, Amazon Fire. And thank you so much, and we'll come back. Thanks. Hi, it's Jessica J. Rolla from Philam TV, and we have here the Ifugao. I could be corrected how to say this. The people of the Cordilleras. Look at the artifacts. Beautiful. I don't know how they refurbish this, but it's beautiful. It's authentic from Philippines, and it's an indigenous group. The group in the Cordillera Mountains. I could be saying that slower. And they're renowned, I'm just going to read it, for the rice terraces. So I'm assuming with this group, UNESCO World Heritage, it represents a 400-year-old sustainable terraced agricultural system. And I'm going to have Dr. Lee come here. And Dr. Ruzi Lee, she's actually one of my mentors. When I moved from Chicago, I didn't know a lot of people. She was on the Pulse News as well. And this is going to be on Locals in Las Vegas. Dr. Lee, kamusta ka? Tell me more about the museum. It's good to see you again.
Yes, thank you. It's good to see you, and thank you for coming. And we would love for all of you to come and enjoy the museum, because this is the art of Ifugao, and it is amazing what we have here. The young lady who contributed this, actually she donated this entire collection to us, and she's been collecting for 35 years. 35 years, and she really kind of cried, when she gave us, because she was saying goodbye to her collection that she's had for that long. And we'll be getting some more. She's coming, and she's going to bring more for us.
So what inspired you to have this whole museum? I mean, I definitely needed this coming from Chicago. It was a bigger city, but this is more intimate, and it's close to my office, and you've been there. What do you think, besides the sculptures, is probably the better pieces? Because I saw the Ferdinand Magellan, and any other favorites you have?
Right. What we would like for people to know is their history. We as Filipinos, we don't even know, for instance, that we have blood from the Negritos, who settled here many, 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 many thousands of years ago, and of course the Eurasians. And
Spanish is typical, right?
yeah, we'll be having classes.
Oh, you will?
We will be having classes, and we're inviting people to come to get to know more about the history. We'll be also having language classes as well, and other cultural.
Okay.
So thank you for being here.
And then do you have certain hours? Are you in charge of the classes yet, or do we go online or just call? Or
We will have the schedule put online.
Okay, good.
And everybody know. Thank you again.
Thank you, Salamat.
Susie Lee calls herself the most bipartisan member of Congress. What does that mean? She voted to let Donald Trump spy on your phone and emails without a warrant. And she voted to unleash ICE on our communities, disappearing hardworking immigrants and even citizens right off our streets. But Dr. James Lally will never compromise our democratic values to fall in line with Donald Trump. It's time to choose a real Democrat to represent Nevada. It's time to choose Dr. James Lally.
My family survived a genocide and war before we fled to America. With education and hard work, I became an attorney and activist. We made Las Vegas our home for the Nevada dream, opportunity and affordability. Today, that dream is in crisis. But by supporting working families, small business, affordable housing, and childcare, we will rise again. I'm Lena Hovanesian, and I'll be your champion on the Clark County Commission fighting for our Nevada dream.
Excuse me, are you Judge Mary Perry?
Yes, I'm Judge Mary Perry.
Looks like you're running for re-election.
Primary's June 9th, Family Court, Department P.
Department P, P for Perry.
Judge Mary Perry.
I'm Judge Mary Perry, and I approve this message.
For over 15 years, I've defended rights, upheld due process, and will bring balanced judgment, compassion, and unwavering commitment to the Henderson Justice Court. If you live in Henderson, remember to vote in June. And remember, Hendren for Henderson.
Lance Hendren, fair, experienced, and ready to serve Henderson with integrity. Lance Hendren, the right person for the bench. Paid for by the committee to elect Hendren for judge.
Thank you, Lisa. It's Jessica J. Rolla here, and I'm super excited. I'm at Mosaic Salon and Summerlin, and she's been my artist for a while, what, a year and a half?
Yeah.
Yeah, so thank you for doing this. Tell her what you did.
So I did a partial balayage on her today. We covered up her roots, and we did a nice gloss and a fresh cut.
What do you think, guys? Thank you so much. I needed a break and just to do this for a while. I'll be back Monday.
We use headphones as a part of our everyday lives. Whether we're at work, getting exercise, meditating, in transit, studying, practicing, or relaxing.
Hi, I'm Ryan Sway, the founder of Aircom. I would like to introduce the world's first wireless airflow audio earbuds. As a festival and a concert junkie, I really enjoy the live experience of being there and feeling the music. When we started developing Airflow, our goal was to reproduce that live experience using earbuds.
The problem with traditional headphones is that the speakers are located inside of the earpiece, literally giving you centimeters before the audio hits your eardrum.
What Aircom is doing, they're the first company to actually address the fact that there needs to be a space involved associated with having the sound waves expand fully.
The difference between traditional headphones and Aircom audio is that the air tube gives you 8 times more space, allowing the sound waves to fully develop before they actually hit your eardrums. And this gives it a much more live, natural sound, just like in a recording studio.
It's real nice that someone actually addressed the physics associated with how sound comes out.
The challenge we had was to create an earbud with enough airspace for the sound to fully develop and breathe. Unfortunately, traditional earbuds are about the size of a jelly bean, and there's just not enough airspace. However, that changed when we developed Airflow Audio. Airflow uses an air tube to deliver 6 to 8 times more airspace than traditional earbuds. The end result is a true live listening experience, just like you're at a festival or a concert. We also added magnets to the back of the earpieces so you can wear it around your neck when you're not using it.
Being that the drivers are 8 inches from the earpiece, the magnets do not affect the integrity of the sound at all.
The orange line represents the frequency transmitting through the wire to the speaker, which then converts to the blue sound wave that develops more as it travels up the air tube, producing a balanced, full body and live listening experience.
Another really cool feature is that these earbuds are sweat-proof and water-resistant because they're coated with a super hydrophobic nanotechnology. So now you can be on a skateboard or riding a motorcycle and listen to music as if you were watching a live show or actually in a recording studio.
We're coming to you for help in bringing these unparalleled earbuds to market.
Susie Lee calls herself the most bipartisan member of Congress. What does that mean? She voted to let Donald Trump spy on your phone and emails without a warrant. And she voted to unleash ICE on our communities, disappearing hardworking immigrants and even citizens right off our streets. But Dr. James Lally will never compromise our democratic values. To fall in line with Donald Trump, it's time to choose a real Democrat to represent Nevada. It's time to choose Dr. James Lally.
My family survived a genocide and war before we fled to America. With education and hard work, I became an attorney and activist. We made Las Vegas our home for the Nevada dream, opportunity and affordability. Today, that dream is in crisis. But by supporting working families, small business, affordable housing, and childcare, we will rise again. I'm Lena Hovanesian, and I'll be your champion on the Clark County Commission fighting for our Nevada dream.
For over 15 years, I've defended rights, upheld due process, and will bring balanced judgment, compassion, and unwavering commitment to the Henderson Justice Court. If you live in Henderson, remember to vote in June, and remember, Hendren for Henderson.
Lance Hendren, fair, experienced, and ready to serve Henderson with integrity. Lance Hendren, the right person for the bench. Paid for by the committee to elect Hendren for judge.